And good afternoon, and welcome to this special time slotted edition of the Touring Fan Live. My name is Anthony Krizowitz, and today I have the absolute pleasure and honor of speaking to Kevin Martin, the lead singer of Candlebox, at 1 o'clock in the afternoon for the first ever, I guess it's usually called an evening with, we'll call it an afternoon with Kevin Martin. Kevin, how are you doing?
Good. I'm good. I like that song. Who's that band? Stereo Embers.
Stereo Embers, yes. So Stereo Embers is a band out of Seattle, Washington. They've done a lot with like Mike McCready, and they've done stuff with a bunch of stuff on the West Coast. Yeah, Stereo Embers, great band out of the West Coast of Seattle, Washington.
There you go.
Yeah, yeah. I think you're
Figures.
familiar with the area,
Yeah, a little bit.
dude. It's such weird times, right? Like, I was talking to you a little bit before this about like how the timing of music coming out is like kind of been slowed down by the pandemic. And, the reason I reached out to you was, you put this new single out that I mean, it's been on shuffle consistently on iTunes for me. You know, as a musician right now, with everything going on, how have you had to overcome being a musician during the pandemic?
Overcome. I don't think I've overcome it. I think, like most musicians, it's just this is the longest any of us have ever been home. For any type of successful touring act, such I mean, this is called the touring fan. As a touring band, um, generally the longest any band guy stays home from not playing shows is maybe 9 months. And that's usually because you're making a record. And even then, we're all touring because that's where the money's at now. Nobody's making money selling records. So um, I, I I think the biggest thing has been how to be in your own skin. Alone or with your family for a year straight. It's musicians. Most musicians that I know are just not good. By themselves. I mean, you got to be some sort of. There's a certain amount of insecurity that happens that allows you to pop up on stage and play songs for 100 people or 100,000. That instant gratification is something that I think we all desire, not just musicians, but people in general. And when you don't get that for a year, you have to be comfortable in your own skin. And I think that's been the biggest challenge. I mean, I'll always be the musician. I'll always play guitar and sit around and maybe do a live stream on Instagram or something like that. But yeah, it's just really been who am I, and am I a good husband, and am I a good father?
Well, that's pretty deep. I mean, because I guess, yeah, being on the road so much and then being at home and then having to have these realizations, that's Now let me ask you this: with you being home so much, is that going to affect, like, 'cause most musicians, as we know, and I've looked over your previous scheduling, you tour very heavily. Are you going to continue to tour pretty heavily once gates are open, or is that new kind of slowed down? I'm at home with my family. I mean, does that affect anything going forward for you?
Yeah. um, it'll be like the parting of the Red Sea. I think you're going to see a flood of concerts. And you're not only with Candlebox, but I think every band, we're really going to probably oversaturate the market. But I think if people are so starved for that experience that it doesn't matter who's playing. Every show is going to be busy. For us, the plan is to go out for 12 weeks straight. We've lost a year's worth of touring income. And if we were to tour the way we had previously, I would never be able to pay back these PPP loans that I've gotten. I've got I protect my band guys with
Sure.
payroll. So, I didn't want to leave them out, in the mud, and it's something that I had to do. So I have to, I've had a discussion with my wife and my son as well. I'm going to be gone for 3 months straight. You're not used to that. I'm not used to it. I usually go out for 2 weeks, come home for a month and a half, go out for 2 weeks, come home for a month, you know. But this is really the only way to financially repair the damage that's been done for Candlebox, from not touring.
dude, I respect the fuck out of you for the fact that you just basically said, "Hey, listen, I had to take. I didn't want to put my guys in a situation that says, hey, figure shit out on your own. You took in this PPP loan, you're paying them back, but then you're like, you know what? You talk to your family. Listen, we're gonna have this shitty situation for 3 months where I'm gonna be out on the road, but I'm doing this for the best of everybody. Dude, that's a total respect for you. I can't. I mean, absolutely amazing.
Well, thank you. I mean, it's kind of the person that I've always been. I get questions all the time about, you know, what what happened with Candlebox, and why did the band break up in 1999, and why are you the only remaining member now? Not everybody is cut from the same cloth. Not everybody looks at their responsibilities as a human being the same way. And that's not to say that Barty and Scott and Pete aren't great humans, because they are. I love those guys. They are my brothers. I was looking forward to playing these two shows with them last year in Seattle for the Lucy 25th anniversary. But there was always something that was different about us as individuals when it came to our responsibilities to not only one another, but to our fans and to our families. And I was raised by a very hardworking father and a very hardworking mother, that taught me very early on that I'm only as good as the company I keep, and I want to keep really good company, which in turn made me be a better person and made me understand that without that company, I really don't have anything. And that's why, first and foremost, the fans are so important to Candlebox. I mean, they've funded 3 records now for us, which is amazing, to be able to have, these people who, out of the goodness of their hearts, throw $100 at you, or $25 at you, or $1,000, because we're an independent band. We have an independent record deal with a small label out of Chicago called Pavement Entertainment. Great guys, great. It's a great family, but they don't have a lot of money, and so we have to rely on those fans. So, I guess, long story short, by me being the person that I am, I guess is why we still have the fans we have, and why these people feel comfortable throwing money at us to make records, and in turn why I feel responsible for the guys in my band, and responsible for those fans to give them the best of what I have.
No, I mean it's clear, and I mean from what you're saying that it's that you do have that bond that actually it shows what you're doing, and it's interesting, with the new single coming out and everything, and like you had said, this was originally supposed to come out in 2 years ago. Was that correct?
No, it was supposed to come out September of last year, 2020.
Okay, so and that was held off because of the fact that album comes out, touring typically follows after.
Yeah, especially when you're an independent artist, you can't rely on radio, like the Foo Fighters releasing songs and radio will play the shit out of them. That doesn't happen with Candlebox. So, and I think that you made an interesting statement earlier, is how many of those records that came out last year. For example, Seether released a record. Who's going to remember that record come this fall? So it's really important that you make those kinds of decisions as a band and as a team, to release the record when people are going to be paying attention.
Well, it makes a complete sense. I mean, as a big Pearl Jam fan, Pearl Jam puts a gigaton last year. It's successful among its core fans and its hardcore fans, but it's been a year since it's been out. The band hasn't toured in 3 years. Now they're supposed to follow up that album, and they're going to have their hardcore fans going out, but it's hard to follow up something you put out a year and a half ago to kind of hit the road with it, because those singles that first came out, well, they're not being played massively and they're not following through. So it's how do you, put that album out to follow through with touring? And I think that the decision you made to put that album out in September and have the single come out recently, is smart, and it's a smart thing, because it seems like to me, looking at things, especially today. I mean, my news feed today has been blown up with all of these music acts that I follow, and that are basically planning their tours out starting in August and pushing them out through the end of the year. And I think it's what you had said before. It's a great kind of idea. There's going to be a flood of musicians and artists that are going to hit the roads once things feel safe to them, and to the areas they're going to. And it seems like a lot of venues are starting to allow that starting this summer. So it's interesting. In the same sense, too, I really think that the people that appreciate music like myself are going to look to people like you, like Candlebox, like Kevin, like yourself, that put out music that we, during this pandemic, that we could have turned to, and it gave us that comfort and that kind of sense of like, hey, we can get away from things for a while by listening to music, because music is that therapy. Um,
Yeah.
and it's kind of like we're getting back to that, and it's kind of like our thank you to those people. Because listen, in 10 years time, when we look back at this pandemic, it's going to be the arts that got most of people through the ability of not just like losing their fucking mind. Honestly, I mean, that's what it is. Because
Yeah.
music is that therapeutic release for a lot of people. And it's nuts to think that like that's what helped a lot of people get through this past year.
Yeah. Well, I think, and the funny thing about, that as well is the passion that you're going to see the bands playing, the level at which they're going to be playing at is going to be levels at which you haven't seen in years. It it's funny. I remember when My Chemical Romance broke up, and I think Gerard Way said that he just felt like he was phoning it in. And when he realized that that's what he was doing, he had to leave the band. And I think that what I've seen over the past few years with a lot of bands that we've played with, a lot of concerts and shows that we've been to, I've seen that with a lot of these bands. It's not that they don't care any less about the audience. You just get really, really burned out playing songs. And the fact that none of us have been able to do this, what it is that we love and grew up dreaming about for so long, the level of musicianship and the concerts and the energy you're going to see at these shows is going to be, I think, second to none. It's going to be unbelievably brilliant. There are a lot of bands that can hide behind great light shows and stuff, and then there are a lot of bands who rely on one light. And I think it's that neither of those are going to matter, because the element of excitement for us to get out there and play these songs. Pearl Jam, for example, I mean, who always puts on an amazing show. I think you're going to see them up their game even.
It's going to be tough. I mean, they've upped their game for a while, but I can't wait. I just live music in general. I mean, God, I went from going to, I don't know, 3, 4 shows a month to nothing. And and I didn't realize until it's one of those things. Once you realize you don't have it, is how much you didn't realize how much you appreciated it. Like how much you appreciate that music that got you through things. Which kind of brings me to like the question I ask every musician that I have on the show. Do you remember that moment that you fell in love with music?
Oh yeah, yeah. I was 3 years old, and it was the first time I heard Kiss. Yeah.
Let me ask you this question about Kiss, because this has been brought up too. Because I've argued with people about this, so I'm curious where your stance is. Do you think that Kiss is one of the greatest American rock bands of all time?
Yeah, I do, and I think mainly. I mean, listen, great songs, great hooks. The concept of putting on makeup and being theatrical and kabuki and and the elements of uh, you know the geisha culture in kind of dressing things up to hide behind what it maybe what their inabilities were, or to hide those or the abilities. I mean, this is a band who, I mean, I don't know, man, how many years are they going on? 50 years now, I think
God,
it is,
it's
or
gotta be
something like that.
it's gotta be
To
50.
sustain that, and I went to see him when they got back together. I think in Seattle. Every Seattle rock musician was at the show, and I remember laughing. And my friend's like, "What are you laughing about?" I go, "This is the most ridiculous shit I've ever seen." And I can't believe when I was 3 years old, I thought this was the coolest fucking thing in the world. But at the same time, I was laughing because I probably felt like that 3-year-old kid getting to see that band that changed his life, and then realizing they're not that amazing, but this is really amazing.
Yep.
I guess it's like, everybody telling you to see a certain movie and it's the greatest movie you've ever seen. And then you walk out and you go, you know, yes, I do think they're one of the greatest rock bands of all time. I think they've written some amazing songs. Are they the greatest singers, musicians, players? No, but I think that they're incredibly gifted, and their creative talent supersedes, I think, a shit ton of bands that have released albums and sold as many copies.
You're so true. There's this like buildup of something I'm doing, and we're talking about the greatest American rock bands of all time, and the people that are involved in this. We've had that conversation, and I've said Kiss is like top 10 greatest American rock band of all time for everything you said. They've influenced so many bands too, so it's interesting that. It's just I don't know, man. It's crazy now, and it's crazy that they've broken up and gotten back together as millions of times they've had and been so successful with it. But and it's one of those things where like I don't know if you can meet somebody and play a Kiss song without them going, "That's Kiss." Like
Yeah.
that is important. So
Yeah, no, it's true. You're absolutely right. And we for disappearing airports, we have a song on there called Supernova, which we stole from "I Was Made for Loving You," which is one of my favorite Kiss songs. I actually prefer the disco era of Kiss, mainly because I think some of those grooves um, were so thick and funky, and I mean, even the song "Charisma" off of
mm,
Dynasty by Gene Simmons. I mean, um, the 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 audacity to write that song. I mean, it's it's brilliant, and I think that that's what they're unapologetic, man. I mean,
mm,
that's what I think every rock and roll band should be. You know, I, I I find it interesting. If we can talk about that for a second, there are bands out there that I think have missed that. If the term rock and roll is there's nothing safe about it, and it should be very, very dangerous, and that's what rock and roll is. I grew up, I was born in 1969. I grew up in the 70s. Some of my favorite bands are punk bands. The Clash is my all-time favorite, but real rock and roll to me was always dangerous, and I've always found it difficult to stomach when a band apologizes for something that they've done, or maybe they someone in their band did something stupid and they apologize for them. I don't think that that's what rock and roll is supposed to be, and I think that artists in general should never apologize for their work. If they've offended somebody, that's their job, and if it's making you think about something, that's the artist's job. Art is supposed to be provocative, and I think that that's why Kiss will be considered one of the greatest rock and roll bands of all times, is because they were very provocative. Guns N' Roses, as fucked up as those guys are, and as many times as they should have apologized, which they never should have, they never did. And I think that's what makes Guns N' Roses one of the greatest rock and roll bands of all time. And that's what I think. That's kind of what we've always, as a band, Candlebox. I don't think of Candlebox as its parts. It's always been a sum of it's not a sum of its parts. It's always been its whole. And I think that's why we've been able to kind of make the records we make, and move through the music the way we have. Like a song like "My Weakness," for example. That was written by a friend of mine for me. Don Miggs is in a band called The Whole Damn Mess, and I asked him for something specifically because I'm a huge fan of his writing, and I love what he did with this song. There was a bridge section in the song that I didn't like, and I took it out, and I said, "Hey, I'm sending this to you for your approval. I want you to be okay with the fact that I'm not crazy about the bridge." And he wrote me back and he said, "It didn't need the bridge. You're absolutely right." So I knew that I could talk to him that way, and I knew that he would deliver something for me that I wanted, that was going to allow me to push that envelope musically that I want to push. I love Bryan Adams. I love that 80s big, epic, sappy rock and roll music. I don't think Bryan Adams has ever written a bad song. And and that's why Candlebox has always been unapologetic about what we've done. We've never sold more than 1 million records since the debut album, and we never will. And that's because we chose to go where we chose to go. We weren't led or directed where we should be. And, you know, maybe that's our penance, or maybe that's exactly what we were supposed to do. Maybe the people that have, been on this ride with us for the past 29 years, were supposed to take this ride with us. And if that's the case, then, I won't apologize for a goddamn thing.
I totally fucking dig it. It's interesting you had mentioned, and I didn't think we were going to talk about this, but I like your opinions about this. You talked about the Clash, and we talked about Kiss, and to me, when one of the greatest American bands of all time, to me personally, was the Ramones, because I feel like they basically defined and created a genre of music that was kind of just in little small things, and bands like the Clash, kind of came from that. Any thoughts on the Ramones being a top American band of all time?
One of the greatest, one of my
Okay.
all-time favorites. I have every single Ramones record released, even the ones that people don't want to listen to. Like the ones that Dave Stewart from the Eurythmics produced,
Mm.
which I think "Howlin' at the Moon" is one of the greatest songs ever. The hook and the melody in that song is ridiculous. But the Ramones, they took that New York, the dirt, the dirt beneath their feet, and turned it into these amazing fucking pop songs that were played really, really fast and really, really terribly. And but that's what made them so amazing.
Special, yeah.
And I we've covered "Sedated," and we like to mix songs in the middle of our own songs, and so we've covered "Sedated" in the middle of "Sweet Summertime," and it's one of my favorite moments of the song because when I was 10 years old, that song was on repeat. You know, on my record player, it would stop. I'd go back over and I'd put the needle back down at the beginning of that song and play that song over and over and over. It's one of the greatest rock and roll songs ever written, and it's obviously it's one of the most well known songs by the Ramones. Um, but I think that's what was so amazing about them was even their unknown or super B side tracks were just as good as their singles, as their number one. I don't even know if they had a number one hit, but as their most popular songs. I've always loved the Ramones. I've always prided myself on not owning a Ramones T-shirt because that would mean that I would became one of the masses that that wears the shirt. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I just always felt like I can't wear a Ramones shirt because everybody has a Ramones shirt.
Yeah, and
It's like
it's kind
and
of like
don't wear-
it's like an American Eagle now. It is kind of it's like it was those that shirt idea is It's dude, I walked past American Eagle in the mall that is like a Ramones and Nirvana, and I think it was a really random. I think it was a Pink Floyd shirt, and these
yeah,
kids are wearing them, and it's like it's cool, but like let's talk like if you're wearing a Pink Floyd shirt, let's talk about animals, and I'm like, what's animals?
yeah.
I'm like come
Great
the
record. I love that record. That's
fuck
one of
it.
my favorite Pink Floyd records. Again, like you and I must be kindred spirits because it's the weird obscure albums that
Yeah.
or songs that I love because not everybody loves them, and there's such great darkness in that Animals record. I mean, um, I don't know what the arguments Roger Waters and David Gilmour must have been having when that record was made, but they must have been just brilliant musical arguments because there's so much passion in that album,
The
in those songs,
it's
behind those songs.
well it's five songs on an album where I think the shortest song, well, I guess the beginning and end, so really it's only three songs on the album because you have
Exactly.
yeah, it's like Pigs on a Wing part one, Pigs on a Wing two, but you get Dogs, Pigs, and then you have Sheep. And Dogs is probably one of the greatest Pink Floyd songs ever written, in my opinion. That's my opinion.
No, I agree.
but it's really like four songs in one. But yeah, dude, it's like, talking about the Ramones, like End of a Century to me, which people will like shit on me. I
Yeah.
love that album. Like,
Yeah.
I do like those obscure things because it's when you listen to a band that when they're everyone, like, and I'm going to talk about your music in a minute, but when you people listen to Candlebox, they're going to go back to those original, like the majority go back to those original songs that were popular, but they don't realize like there is five other albums leading up to the new one coming out. That would be the seventh album that is of amazing music that's different. And it shows, and what happens was those musicians that are putting up music after their hits are trying to keep you guys reeled in a little bit. So they're trying different things, and you're going to get different things out of it. Give it a chance, and then you're gonna find that Animals, you're gonna find that, Rocket to Rocket to Russia, or hell, you're gonna find End of a Century. You're gonna find all these albums that are just as good, if not better, than the original albums, because it's just because it's not on the radio doesn't mean it's not good.
Yeah. Well, it's hard. You have to, I guess, as an artist, and a musician, you have to realize that there are I guess if there's an analogy, and I would like to hope that this is the right one to use. There are Coca-Cola people, and then there are Pepsi people, and then there are um, uh, Barks root beer people. And I think the Barks root beer people are pretty interesting, because that's an acquired taste. you know, Coca-Cola and Pepsi, um, everybody loves those. But Barks root beer is one of those ones where you see it and you're like, I could go for a Barks right now, and then you finish it and you're like, that's pretty good. That's pretty good soda. I think with music, even like, let's talk about Pearl Jam for an example. I haven't liked a Pearl Jam record since Vitology, but there have been songs on seven other records, 10 other records. There have been songs on those remaining few albums up to the last record that I have absolutely been in love with. And so I will buy those records or listen to those records for those one or two songs in the hopes that I'm going to find something else in what you're mentioning in that album that I can attach myself to. Of course, Alive and Black and those songs by Pearl Jam are, going to go down in history as some of the greatest songs, rock and roll songs ever written, let alone their greatest songs. But bands that have a collection of material that the fans are willing to grow with and listen to and understand, if they're willing to go out and find those albums outside of those popular tracks, you're absolutely right. They're going to find those diamonds in the rough that are 10, 15 times better than Far Behind ever would be, or Change, or Cover Me, or Blossom, for that example of the debut album from Candlebox. And I honestly believe that. As a band, we've grown so much over the years, musically as well as personally, that we've allowed ourselves never to be limited to what it was that we understood to be our successes. Reaching for greatness or striving for greatness is what brings about that change and the opportunity of greatness.
I think that's pretty well said. I don't even know how to fucking comment on that one. That's pretty hitting on the head, nail on the head. Um, you know, the one thing talking about just songs and music in general is like, I think, as you're the band Candlebox has been around for 31 years. And they've been putting up music. This is the seventh album coming out in September this year. I will say that, like, and I say this with art in general, everything has like something attached to it, like a memory attached to it. And I've interviewed people, and I don't really have that, but there is, like, I remember the first time I heard Candlebox. Like, I remember it like distinctively. Like, I remember the car I was in. I remember the time. I remember the location. It was the summer of, I guess it was 93. I don't remember the date, but I was in my father's Plymouth Blazer. If you remember what those cars are, those
Yeah.
those blue cars with the headlights that would bounce up and
Yep.
down.
Yeah.
and we were going to the Bronx Zoo, and we were listening to music. And this was my dad was had me at a really young age, so he was like the hip dad that had all the good music and tunes. And remember when you came on the K Rock, and he
Yeah.
blasted the shit out of that. Like, so there I am. I guess I was what, 8 at the time, right? It's 93. Add the one, whatever, however I was, 8, 9, and he blasted the shit out of it. And there I am, and I'm like. And I was just like, and I remember like the windows going down a little. We had back then you had to roll the window down, and going through New York City to get to the Bronx Zoo, and I'm like, I was just mesmerized. First of all, like the passion behind your voice, like the music that was coming through, and like that was just a moment that like it just sticks in my head. I just remember looking at my dad, and my dad was singing the fucking song, and there I am, and I'm like. I was like, wow, this is like, I just felt like I felt larger than life for that 5 minutes. We were listening to that song in New York City in the Plymouth Blazer on the way to Bronx Zoo, and that song has stuck with me since. And it's just like, like you had talked about the first time you heard Kiss and like how that brought music together. Like there's moments in my life that like certain songs like or bands really stuck with me, and that was a very important moment because not only was it just about Candlebox or that, but it was just like I guarantee you, if I asked my dad, if we called my dad, he'd be like, I don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. Like, I don't remember that moment because it was just irrelevant to him. But like to me, like that moment was important to me because it was just like, God, this is like a moment. And it was just like that song is latched on to like that.
That's great. Yeah, I guarantee you, your dad would probably remember that. We as fathers, I don't know if you have children, but
I do.
Yeah, you have those moments with your child where something comes on and you share that moment of God, what a great song. And my son and I, we have several of those. And a lot of them are embarrassing to him. But for me, there's such great moments because I'll never forget him singing, that song in the back seat, or like the first time he heard me on the radio, and he was like, "That's you." And I'm like, "Oh yeah." I mean, he's been to the shows, he's seen the audience, but I don't think they ever really recognize, maybe how famous somebody is until they experience like you being on television or the radio. It's a strange thing, and I'll always remember that moment with Jasper. I've got several of those. I love the fact that music does that, and it Pete used to call it play the movie. When you hear a song, that movie will just start rolling in your head. And you see the 4 or the 3, 4, 5, 6 at the top that counts down, and then and then that reel of your life starts based on that song. It's pretty special.
Yeah, I have my son who's 11, and then I have a daughter who just turned 5. And my son's been, God, he's actually seen, we've been front row for Kiss. We've been, we've seen a lot of shows together, and it is special. He is kind of growing out of that a little bit, but the good thing is like my daughter who just turned 5 is really getting into music right now. Like she's on this huge David Bowie kick. So it's kind of like, as he's kind of growing into his own thing and she's kind of growing into Bowie and enjoying that, I'm like, all right, well, I'll just have to replace these concert moments with these ones, and I'll have all these ones as I grow. But no, yeah, dude, I don't know. Music is the most magical thing in the world. That's just my opinion.
It is. I agree.
So let's talk about the new single, because we're going to play it here in just a moment. I got to hear it for the first time last week, and I swear to God, I'm looking at this. I've listened to it like 27 times. So I think in streaming facet, I've given you 15 cents.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. But yeah, this is like a summer tune. Like when everyone hears this, when you listen to this song, this is like, I feel like you're either in a Jeep or a convertible. This is blasted at the top of your lungs. This is like, this is good shit here. So you know what? Enough of me talking about it. How about we play it, Kevin?
Let's play it.
All right, here we go.
She's the hard stuff, but dive into wishing well. Make your peace, a prayer before you start to spell. She's a light, you know you're gonna have to sail. So shut your mind up, the time for second guessing go. You try pretending she's a never-ending cyclone. bottom. You know that you're my weakness. I'm medicated, sweet, yeah. You're the side effect and I'm your drama witness. You know that you're my weakness. Baby, we're overrated, so throw me in the deep end. I need sedated and I'm your drama witness. You know that you're my weakness. You know that's not my weakness. So I need sedated. Oh, you know that you're my weakness. Oh, you know you're my weakness.
Well, now, I would say, no bullshit aside, because I listen to a lot of live music, or a lot of new music. This is easily in my top 3 favorite songs of the year so far.
Oh, thanks, man. Thank you.
It is we have, so just to give you accreditation, so it doesn't like I'm blowing smoke up your ass. I do a show called Anthony and Rob's World Tour. We listen to music from all over the world, put it together, and we try to find unsigned artists, and we listen to music, everything. Dude, I'm telling you, I love that song. Like I want to go buy a freaking Jeep right now and just drive up and down the road with. It just seems like, first, I have no hair. I wish I had your hair, but like the wind blowing through your hair, like this is like I just visualize that moment.
Yeah, well, wind blowing, your hair blowing in the wind, and then in your mouth and your throat, and all that sort of thing as well. I think it was one of the concerns I had with releasing the song right now was the fact that I felt that this was, the Summer of '69 kind of vibe, a Bryan Adams song, and I was like, I don't know if I want to take away from the opportunity of this being that summer track, but maybe it has. Legs long enough to reach, June, July, August. I don't know. I'm hoping that it does. I love this song a lot. When Don sent it to me, he had this young kid that he was working on singing track, and this kid had just an amazing voice. And I was like, God, I don't know how I'm gonna sound on this after hearing this kid sing it. But of course, my voice is mine, and it felt right in the pocket of the song, and I just felt so good singing this track. I really loved it so much that it made it so easy to sing, and that's one of the things that you, I guess, as a singer songwriter, you hope for is that those songs will lend themselves to you, and you will take them and make them your own. And they never ask for them, they never ask for themselves back. And that's what I love about this song is that it just feels like it's everybody's track, and it's a love song. It's we all have those people in our lives that have just, they're you do anything for them. You love them that much, and they are, they're your drug, and that's sometimes to the detriment of your own well-being. But it's a love song, and I'm so happy people are liking it.
I mean, a lot of people are commenting. Your voice gives me the chills. Vincent says, love it from Rhiannon. Hearts from Terry. Amazing by Vincent. Good stuff from Paul. I mean, it goes on and on. Trey, love it. Yeah, good stuff. But I do have a question for you. A good comment came up. Great new song. Who is the best person named Dave that Kevin knows?
That's my buddy David Devona.
I've been doing this for a while. That was an interesting question to be asked.
Yeah, he's a He's a character, man. He's one of those Long Island boys that I don't think got enough love when he was a kid. I'm just kidding, Dave. I love you, dude. He's a good dude. He's a good dude.
Oh, geez. No, it is. It's a really great album. I think it's a great starting point. Gets the. I mean, shit. We got what September is what 6 months away. We got a
Yeah.
while to go before the whole thing comes out. Are you planning on dropping any more singles leading up to that, or is this the only tease we're getting to the full album?
No, well, we when we released "Let Me Down Easy" last year, the hopes was that we were going to release another follow up. I guess their teaser tracks. Like Kings of Leon released "Echoes" and "Bandit" and 10,000 or 100,000 people or whatever it was called. But and that's just to get you ready for the record. So we were hoping that this would have happened in December or November of last year. It wasn't going to be my weakness. It would have been a little bit darker song, but now it looks like we're going to release something else. I would guess probably in May, since we're gearing up to hit the road in August. So we'll certainly want you to have 3 tracks, under your belt by the time we get out there, because we'll be out prior to the record coming out, which is in itself fun and never fun. But yeah, we want to make sure that there's at least 3 songs out there for people to kind of be, digesting before we, vomit up the rest of the record on you.
Yeah, the album's called Wolves. First of all, dig the cover. That kind of like dripping black into the wolf, kind of like very dark. Interesting.
That's a Spanish artist. We found her. She's from Spain. She had this. She had done this other drawing of wolves, and I fell in love with it. And we contacted her and said we would love to have you do the album cover.
Yeah, it's excellent. It really sometimes less is more, and this just with the white background, that cream background with the black image in the front, it just speaks like. And I love the like the L is the actual like the
Leg.
foot. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, the leg. I don't know why I couldn't say fucking leg, but yeah, the leg. It's
The hoof, the paw, the claw,
yeah,
the hoof.
yeah. I'll say every other word except leg. God, it is absolutely amazing. There's a couple people with questions on here. I want to get to them because I don't want to ignore them. Amy just posted, thank you for 25 years of great music. What was your favorite show you ever played?
It's hard to say a favorite, but I would say Woodstock '94 was pretty spectacular. We were at the height of our career. We were out touring with Metallica. When you're playing in front of 300,000 people, it's pretty mind bending. But there's the 3 shows in New York at the Roseland when the Rangers won the Stanley Cup in '94. Touring with Rush. I mean, our first show with Rush in Pensacola in '94 would be one of those greatest memories. Madison Square Garden with Rush in '94. The Aerosmith dates in '98 because they're our favorite band. There's just too many to count, really. Janice Landing in Florida is always a special show. So is the Culture Room in Florida. The Texas shows, whenever we play San Antonio, which is where I grew up before I moved to Seattle, those shows are really, really special for me. So I don't know if I can pick a favorite. There are far too many to count, but that's a few.
Woodstock '94. I know they're making a documentary about it right now that's supposed to come out next year. I can't. That show, the fact that it was live streamed and the shit that was coming on TV and the amount of amazing things like 9 Inch Nails' performance in '94 is something that is historic. But I mean, there were so many great acts that played '94 Woodstock that it's amazing. It's so like different because if you look at the Woodstock from the '60s to that and like how they're just kind of transparent to each other. It's interesting.
Yeah. Well, I don't think even the '99 one. I don't think it had that strong of headliners. I mean, the one in '94 was Metallica, Aerosmith, and Metallica, Aerosmith, the Chili Peppers, 9 Inch Nails, Green Day. I mean, the funny thing is we were the only band that played Woodstock '94 that had a record in the Billboard Top 10.
Really?
We were the only band.
That's
no
nuts.
other band had a record in the Billboard Top 10.
Yeah, so here is the lineup, the top mainstreamers for '99. It was George Clinton, Jamiroquai, James Brown, Limp Bizkit, Insane Clown Posse, Seven Dust, DMX, Show Crow, The Tragically Hip, and Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah. Rage is really the only one that's, I mean, no, not to discredit George Clinton and James Brown. Absolutely, two of the most, brilliant musicians ever.
Sure.
But Rage in our genre is really the strongest band in that whole category.
Yeah.
In that whole lineup.
Yeah, I mean, to have Insane Clown Posse, George Clinton, and Rage Against the Machine on the same bill, I think you were asking for trouble. That's why that shit burnt to the ground. That that's just that's a that's
Or
just,
people were just pissed off because the show sucked.
oh god, it was brutal. It was brutal. Yeah, not like '94 was special. I remember because you had, I think if I remember correctly, you had to get the pay-per-view. If it was,
Yeah.
but I remember, but I had, like, I recorded over one of my dad's movies, like on the you remember you had to, like, if you had a VHS tape, you had to, like, put something in the notch and, like, tape over it. So, like, you
Yep.
can actually record on it. And I recorded a bunch of performances on there. I got in trouble. I got grounded for, like, recording over one of his movies to record parts of Woodstock 94. So, God, Woodstock 94,
Yeah.
that was some good stuff back then.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Great show.
Let's see. Let's continue up the list. How much writing and recording have you been doing from home? And can we expect some more new music, which we kind of reflected on already?
No, I am not prolific. I have not been writing and recording. We're doing we started doing this covers record. We were doing, we started out with For What It's Worth by Buffalo Springfield, and then we're going to do Queen and all these other songs. And we couldn't get everybody on the same page to finish the track, so that's not happening. And now we're doing Lover Boy Turn Me Loose for a friend for his 50th birthday. Because it's his Lover Boy's his favorite band, which I think is hilarious. And but that's really the only thing we're doing. I have guitars sitting all over this house. I mean, there's my J200 right there. It's gathering dust.
Nice.
Because I don't touch it. I'm just not that person. I make records when I'm ready to make records. I don't sit around playing guitar and writing songs all day. I'm not Bob Dylan, and I kind of wish I was. But I'm not. I've just started, gearing up to starting this podcast called it's called Rock and Roll. Look it up. But that's really the only thing I'm doing. I'm honestly just a singer in a rock and roll band, and sometimes a good songwriter, and that's about it.
I'm gonna say something that I agree with what you're saying, but I disagree with what you're saying. And let me tell you why. You said you're a writer, you're a singer, but you're in a rock and roll band. But it's bigger than that. I think that a lot of times musicians discredit what they're able to do, and this is just my opinion, that they're able to do. I mean, dude, you're an artist, and I think it's broader than that. I mean, you've done so much in the 31 years of Candlebox has been a band, with the music you've put out and the lives that you've affected with it. I think more than just being a musician and a songwriter, at times is like you're an influencer. I think you influence a lot of people to be, in a moment of time where, they can be creative and stuff like that. People get creative around music. There's certain things I listen to that help me get to a next level. And yeah, dude, I think that, like I said in the beginning of this episode, like your music in general, it's come clearly across the screen with people commenting, has helped people out through that time. So, I think you're absolutely awesome. First of all, with especially saying that you Kiss is in one of the top greatest rock and roll bands of all time. Finally, someone who agrees with me. So that's credit due. But yeah, man, at this time in the world, it's not the politicians, it's not none of those assholes that are doing these things. It's the art world that has got us through these last year, and that's why I think it's bigger than just singer, songwriter, musician. I think it's healer. Can we add that to the add that to the business card?
Yeah. Healer.
That's right. That's right. Next time I see Candlebox live, I'm just going to yell it in the middle of the audience. I'm going to be like, what the fuck is wrong with that guy?
I'll bust up laughing. Yeah.
Big ass sign. Let's see. What else is people saying? Everyone just loves the music, loves the new songs. You guys should have been number one in your Happy Pills era.
Oh, thank you.
Come to Montreal. Metallica's there.
Fingers crossed. Yeah.
It's a new Crocodile and Paramount when confirmed. Can't wait to see them at the new Crocodile and Paramount when confirmed.
Yep. We'll be there, Laura.
That's Isn't that kind of sad though? Like I know I understand why they're moving it because of the whole idea of, I guess, real estate in Seattle is just absolutely
Yeah.
ludicrous. But it's
Yeah.
just the history. I don't know. There's places that have that vibe with things. Like you
Mm.
get a feeling out of it. I don't know. It's just moving. It's sad. That's just
Yeah. CBGB's the same thing with New York. Crocodile. I would put Crocodile in the same category. A venue that launched, shit ton of careers. And certainly not the first venue in Seattle, but one of the most influential and most. I mean, God, I saw Mad Season there. When Lane showed up an hour and a half late. It's like the memories inside the Crocodile for me. They go back to 1990, 1991. When I was finally, old enough to go into a bar. The history of that club. Seattle's weird. I live in Los Angeles now, and although it's raining today, it kind of feels like Seattle. But that's why you can see the shadow on my face is kind of going bright and dark. It's Seattle had this. It was a town called City, and now it's become like this metropolis, and it's they're just sucking the life out of what made that city so beautiful, with all these buildings and skyscrapers and apartment buildings. And I mean, at least New York City, stayed dirty.
Yeah.
Seattle's not even dirty anymore, except for the homeless, situation up there. And that's not even that they're dirty. It's just they're homeless,
Yeah.
It's very strange to go back there and to visit my family and go downtown. There's one of my favorite restaurants is in at the market, or it's in the market, Pike Place Market. It's called Matt's in the Market. And it's really the only place that I recognize when I go down to Pike Place Market. That's really the only place in the city I recognize anymore. Because it's just so different now. And the Crocodile sitting on the corner of Second and Wall, right across from or down the street from the Moore Theater. I'm sorry, Second and Jesus, I can't even remember the street now. Stewart, Second and Stewart. Somebody will remind me. But right down the street from the Moore Theater, and Mama's Mexican Kitchen was down the corner from that, and then the billiards place, which was next to Mama's. That's the first place I met Eddie Vedder. When he came to Seattle back in 1990, was this upstairs billiards hall. It was next to Mama's Mexican Kitchen. All that stuff's gone. It's all gone to make room for God knows what.
Well, so I went to Seattle for the first time 2 years ago, and I went to go see the Flight to Mars. It's a Mike McCready band. He does it to raise money for Crohn's and colitis to help raise money for that foundation because he has Crohn's. And I couldn't believe this. It was at that time when Showbox was either going to be shut down or it was going to be saved, and I was just blown out of my mind when I walked into the Showbox, which is this. I've been to thousands of concert venues. The Showbox is this most unique place with the domed kind of ceilings and everything. It's crazy. But it was amazing, just how much shit they were trying to shut down that was historic. It was just, Prince sold 3 nights out at the Showbox and played this small little. I don't know. It just blows my mind how people can overlook things sometimes for profit. And I understand people need to make money, but there's some things in this world that need to be saved or generated because I don't know, there's just so much historic value in it, and it's precious that shit's just disappearing.
Well, people don't. I think that in general, when it becomes political or financial, music's the last thing on anybody's mind. I mean, it's a perfect example. That's what's going on in our schools. Music and the arts are the last thing that these education systems are thinking about, and it's first and foremost in everyone's daily. I mean, music is, someone's listening to music 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Everybody has it in their lives. Car horns, it's music. It's a musical note. All this stuff is part of our daily lives. Even all these people that get in, their cars and listen to the news, or whatever. There's bound to be, if you're listening to KCRW or NPR, there's going to be a musical break. It's affected all our lives. Music has affected all our lives. Art has affected all our lives on a daily basis. We live in art. Architecture, our computers are art, our phones are art, music's attached to all of it. But it's the last thing on anybody's mind when it comes to preserving something, and it's really, really sad. And I just, it bums me out, man, because my son, he doesn't have music in his school, and he goes to a charter school, which you would assume, would have a music class, would have a choir class, they don't have any of it, and so he's not interested in music the way I was. I played in band. In second grade, I played French horn. The thing was bigger than me, but I played in band up until seventh grade. And then I was in choir from first grade until my senior year. I had a ton of electives. I was in drama. All these things created, the person that you're looking at right now and the person that you're talking to. And all of that is being sucked away from us and taken away from us. And all these kids that are growing up today are going to, quite honestly, miss everything that you and I have experienced. And I'm assuming, we're years apart. I'm 51, about to turn 52. You're probably in your 30s. But it's, all of this stuff, even over 20 years, if that's the difference between our ages, you've missed things. And that's 100%. Just really unfortunate. It's just unfortunate.
Well, you think about, one thing I've mentioned, I keep mentioning this story up, but I think it's so important is like when I grew up, like I remember having to the one thing that always sticks in mind, Rage Against the Machine, Battle of Los Angeles. I remember having to wait at Sam Goody's to get the album the day it released. I skipped school to go get it. And because I wanted to be the first person to have that tangible item to listen to it and get lost in the music. I miss those sound parties that you'd go to where record stores would put a record on and then you would listen to the album with a bunch of people you had no idea who the hell they were to hear it for the first time. Because music really, and I know this as cheesy as it sounds, there's like a love kind of, I don't know what the fuck word I'm looking for. There's like a love behind it. Like there's this passion behind music that like if you could feel that love with somebody else in the room that you have no idea about, it's the music's generating that, and it's unique, and it's just, it's like, and listen, I appreciate musicians nowadays. Like I don't like shit on people for what they listen to. Like I have a lot of respect for Billie Eilish, who her and her brother recorded this entire album in their damn bedroom, and she won all these Grammys for, and they're actually playing instruments and the looping music, whatever case. But that's impressive to me that they're doing that, they're creating. But if it wasn't for them being homeschooled and their mother kind of like pushing music into their lives, they would have never had that. And sadly, my son who goes to public school, he was in private school for a while, but he goes to public school now. Like he goes to music class and he's like, yeah, they just told us to read a book. Like they're not like talking about anything even just talk about there's so much stuff that like they're missing out on. Like I remember going to school listening to Mozart and getting into that and having to pull from that, and it's a lost art of that whole like tangible album idea and the whole tangible of holding things and listening to it. Music's different now, and there's that rejuvenation of like vinyl where it's kind of collecting into a hobby and people are collecting it, listening to it. But I don't know, man. I miss the whole idea of like there's a date, you go to the store, you get the album, you have no idea what you're gonna get, and it's either going to be great or it's going to be terrible. But you're on this ride, and you're gonna. It's crazy.
I did that a lot. I did those same listening parties in Seattle, and it's I don't understand what the I don't. It's so confusing to me why our government just feels like, music and the arts should be cut from the education program. I mean, it's federally funded public schools. They're federally funded institutions, and teachers unions I think suck anyways. But unions in general suck. I mean, I'm in a musicians union. It does fuck all for me. And it does fuck all for anybody that's in the musicians union. Now, but if you're in the Actors Guild union or if you're in the Writers Guild union, you're protected, 100,000%. But these unions, these teachers unions and stuff, keeping teachers away from getting kids back in school now, and first of all, teachers should have been one of the first series of vaccinations this year. That would have been really smart, but somehow education again takes the back seat. I don't understand. You know, the education system in the United States, it hasn't changed since the 50s. These are school books that these kids are learning the same thing that my mother learned in high school. And my mom's 80 years old. So why have we not advanced as a society, or here in the United States, I should say? I mean, of course, Sweden and Japan and the rest of the world seems to be understanding the importance of education and music and the arts. But this country of ours, it seems to give zero fucks about it. And it makes no sense to me because it's the foundation of everything you're trying to create. If you want to be technologically advanced as a society, if you want the United States to be able to compete with China or some of these other tech countries, India, for example, educate. Make the education system at the same level. Create an environment where these children can learn something and be inspired by something where they want to be creative. Instead, you're force feeding them history from books where the history's wrong. It's not true. It's a candy coated version of it, and it's really frustrating, man. It's it bothers the shit out of me. And by the way, private schools are no fucking better. You can out here in Los Angeles. If you want to put your kid in private school, it's $40,000 a year. USC as a college is $45,000 a year. But you're putting a kid in 6th and 7th and 8th grade into a private school that's $40,000 a year where they're learning the same fucking thing they're learning in a public school. It's just a safer environment. That's fucking ridiculous.
It is. Couldn't agree more.
How do we fix that?
Fuck if I know. My son was in private school from pre-K all the way through last year. We were paying $18,000 a year for it, and then my daughter, who was in pre-K, that's an extra $11,000 because pre-K costs that fucking much.
Yeah,
in the same school, and the reason I was doing it was I'm like, all right, well, it's gonna be better. There's nothing. It's just I saw no change. I didn't see it was nothing different. The art program was a joke. And when me and my wife had the conversation, because once COVID hit, I was expecting them to do oh, well, this is going to be a great thing. Nothing. It was thrown to the wolves. My kid was lost. It was ridiculous. So let's just go to public school. And it's sad because I was hoping for, I don't know, man. I don't know what the fuck I was hoping for, but public school is exactly the same thing as private school, except I'm not paying $30,000 a year for my kids to go do the exact same thing, except they're not wearing a uniform. It's insane because there's been studies out there that show that kids that are heavily involved in the educational process of arts and music succeed further in life because their mind is open, because using different parts of their brain that generate the ideas of being able to function differently. Most kids that study with music, or most kids that actually paint with me or paint in between studying and process that, will succeed further than those kids that are just pounded in the head consistently with just fact after fact after fact, and nothing else is coming from it. Just because you're throwing a gym class into the middle of a week for a kid, or that's not fundamentally working for these kids nowadays.
No,
it's sad. I mean, and the shit's out there. Look at how music was back from the 60s all the way through the 90s, when education had the arts program fully functionally put out there. Now look at it when it started being removed in the 2000s. I'm not trying to get political, but when George Bush started removing the arts program from it, and those things started getting removed from funding, and then our art teachers and music teachers started losing that funding for them to be able to teach those kids. Look what happened to what is out there now. It's just not the same. Your top musicians right now, your top grossing musician, Billie Eilish, what I keep bringing her up, was a homeschooled kid that her mother kept pushing music into her head.
Yeah, it's you're absolutely right. I forget what they're called when you have shop class or woodworking. If there's a name for those, they're not electives. There's another name for it, but
Gen Ed?
Something like that. My high school, when I moved to Seattle, so I moved to Seattle in 1984, the middle of my sophomore year, or maybe it was 85. I can't remember. I always get confused because I'm old now. But my school, Mercer Island, was a very small school, but it had a great music program, an amazing art program. My art teacher was Miss Hall, and she was brilliant. And then we had a shop class, and I did both metal and wood. And it literally, when I left school, I immediately started getting into building. I started working with a friend who had a construction company. He was a builder, and I learned how to frame houses. I was making extra money doing that. And then when Candlebox hit, and I bought my first house in Seattle, I redid my kitchen with my best friend, who was a builder. I built my kitchen with my best friend. I did the plans. I did the permits. We extended the kitchen out. I did it myself. Because of what I learned in shop class. And, kids aren't getting these opportunities anymore. Even if it's let's say it's going to be coding, and you have a whole network system that these kids have to take. They have to take as an elective. At least they're getting an education on what you and I are utilizing right now, which is a computer having a conversation over a server that somebody created, that allows us to have this conversation via all the shit that's going on in the air, this interwebs sort of thing, as a joke. But if we're teaching our children this, it gives them a great opportunity. But this isn't something that is being offered to most kids in even the private schools, and it's really, really, it's a shame. And I don't know. I don't know if it's ever going to be repaired or fixed. I don't know if there's ever going to come along an education czar that that says, listen, to whichever president it's going to be, we need to restructure this entire education system, and it's going to take 10 years to do it, but we need to get the funding for it. We don't need any more tanks. We're not going to war with Russia. Russia's not going to invade the United States. It's not going to happen. So let's stop building this defense program. We don't need them. We need to take care of our education system in this great country of ours, to fix what's wrong with the infrastructure of each city. It's just disturbing, man. I wish that I was a professor and I had a degree, and I would run for an education czar of for LAUSD and say, listen, this is we need to restructure the system because it's not working, and we need to bring music back, and we need to take this funding, and parents, the school my son goes to, we make a donation to. It's a charter school, so it's federally funded, but we make a donation of $27 a quarter for the school for certain programs, and we found that these programs aren't being implemented. So we've actually called the school and said, listen, we're not going to give you funding anymore because what you asked for, our son isn't getting. And that's not what we signed up for. And you're a charter school. You have federal funding and you have privatized funding. So where's the money going?
It's absolutely great question, because it's not just it's where I'm in Virginia. It's the same shit's happening. And I know for a fact in New Jersey, where we're doing some sort of live event in September where we're going to be actually raising money for a local school that at their arts program is shit and it's bad and these kids need it. It's everywhere. It's a sad situation, but I don't think it's a simple answer. But in the same sense too, if you do plan on running for president in 2024, you got my vote. Just put that out there.
You talk about skeletons, bro.
Listen, let's be realistic and not trying to piss anyone off. If the last president can get in office, fucking anybody can.
It's true. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. You might lose some listeners over there.
Here's the thing, and I've gotten to this point in my life. Like, I used to care. Like, when I first started the show 3 years ago, it used to be called Tap Time Live with Anthony. I used to drink a beer and talk to people, and I cared what people thought. And as I grew into this show, which is now the Touring Fan Live, I've realized, like, listen, not everyone's gonna like me. Not everyone's gonna care about my opinions. Not many people might like the guests I'm having on the show and their political opinions or whatever. It's real freaking simple in this world. And it's this simple. You don't got to bitch about it. You just go on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or tic-tac-toe, whatever those damn things are called, and you just
Yeah.
unsubscribe or unlike. And that's it. It's that simple. You don't have to move on. It is what it is in this world. And,
Yeah.
but let's get to the just and the meat of what this was. First of all, dude, I can't thank you enough for today. This conversation is, anytime I get into an interview, and still, like, as many shows I've done, I always get like, what are we going to talk about? And like, I don't like to over prepare for things. I like to just throw shit on the wall and see what sticks. And dude, this has been an absolutely great conversation for my first afternoon interview I've ever done. So I thank you so much for your time. But listen, if you're tuning in right now, you can definitely check out candleboxrocks.com. You can check it out. They have the September 27th. You can actually pre-order the album with the new single, My Weakness, which you heard on the show. Also, if you go to candleboxrocks.com and you go to their merch section, they have a plethora of merchandise you can purchase and will help continue to support the band. As Kevin spoke about in the beginning of the show, he is making sure that the band is taken care of during this time. So definitely want to help support that. And there's some great options on the website. Also, here is a trick that I have learned recently. If you go to bed at nighttime, all you have to do is turn your phone on, go to iTunes or Spotify, click Candlebox, and press shuffle, and not even listen to it. And guess what? They get paid for every time that song gets played. So shuffle the shit out of your music, play it out, help them out. Just listen. Let's just get them jammed up on the chart, get them paid. So shuffle them out. Kevin, once again, thank you so much. I appreciate it. If you're tuning in now and you haven't heard or you missed part of the show, you can listen to the show or watch the show completely after this is done right here on the Touring Fan Live's Facebook page. If you want to listen to the show tomorrow morning, it will be on our podcast, anywhere podcasts are fine, Deezer, iTunes, Spotify, Google, all that stuff, and all of our previous interviews are on there. For more information about this show and all of our other shows, you can go to thetouringfanlive.com. Keep an eye out. We are going to be having a big announcement coming over the next few weeks about an on-live music festival that's coming out next month about raising money for Parkinson's. So keep an eye out for that. But until next time, Kevin, Martin, thank you so much.
My pleasure, Anthony. Thanks for having me.
Until next time, I'm Anthony. That's Kevin, Martin of Candlebox. Go listen to his music, buy his shit. Until next time, thank you so much for tuning in to Touring Fan Live.